Hello and welcome Ardbegians. My name is Sir Colin Gordon, Warden of the South East Skerries, Defender of the Distillery, Manager of the Malt, and now Taste Master Extraordinaire. I'm joined tonight by the Duke of the Dram himself, David Blackmore, Ardbeg Global Ambassador. And I'm in the presence here in the Kingdom of Ardbeg's wall-to-wall of whiskey, a hoard as far as the eye can see. And we're going to uncork some of the finest and rarest. If you're watching this at home, let me know in the comments what you would like us to try. We've got some array here of Ardbegs and we're raring to go. Very, very exciting way to crack on with Ardbeg Day. So without further ado, let us begin. Let's just take the helmet off so I can hear you and you can hear me. I'm going to start with a personal favourite of whiskies to try, but before we do, a word of caution. We're going to be tasting a few drams tonight, so David and I will divide and conquer. Remember, please drink responsibly at home too. Okay, lots of discussion about favourite Ardbegs. I was a big Ardbeg fan before I started at Ardbeg as distillery manager, and there's one that really stands out for me as my all-time favourite, and that is Ardbeg Uigeadail, which I've actually poured and got ready. Quite hard to move in my suit of armour here, so we'll just stretch and grab it. So this is Ardbeg Uigeadail, 54.2%. It's just the most incredible whiskey, rich, full-bodied. It's a marriage, a mix of ex-Oloroso sherry cask and ex-bourbon American oak refills. We don't have an age statement on it, but you can tell from the colour, all that colour's from the wood. It's had plenty of time in the casks to get lots and lots of activity, lots of wood influence, and we have the most superb dram. So let's have a wee tasting. We'll have a wee nose and go through it. So it's just like the most incredible whiskey. It's like chocolate raisins and pine needles, that classic earthy, sooty Ardbeg note. You know, here at the distillery, we mash when we're starting the process, really heavily peated malt. So we get lots of that sooty, smoky, phenol notes. But when we get through the process into distillation, we run the stills. We run the stills using the purifier and the spirit stills, so we get like these light estery, fruity notes, and that balance all comes together perfectly in Uigeadail with the marriage of the ex-Oloroso and ex-bourbon casks. So we'll have a wee nose and a taste. David, Duke of the Drams, are you with me?
I'm here, Colin. How are you, Sir Colin? And I'm enjoying a wee dram of Uigeadail as well over here.
So why don't you tell us all about it? It's a beauty. It's an absolute cracker. Uigeadail is obviously the name of the head loch. We've got two lochs that feed the distillery here for our water supply. Uigeadail feeds into Ardnambeast, and then the water from there flows down into the distillery, and that's the water we use to process, to make the new make spirit, which will become our whiskey, and for cooling. So the name means a lot. One nose of that, and you could literally be sat beside Loch Uigeadail. You can get a real, it's just wild, full-bodied, rich, earthy. There's some sweetness to it. Like I say, that real raisiny. Oh, David, it's been a while since you've been over at Ardbeg. Obviously, that'll be taking you straight back to the place.
Colin, it's so true. I mean, Uigeadail is just a whiskey that takes you right to a place. It just takes me straight to that walk up behind the distillery, up towards Loch Uigeadail, the dark, mysterious waters of Loch Uigeadail. Everything about this dram is just big and bold and just kind of mysterious. Beautiful, beautiful whiskey with the influence of those sherry casks, the big, heavy influence of the sherry casks. But as we're waiting for our tasting requests to come in, maybe I'll share with you my favourite Ardbeg. How about that, Colin? What do you think?
Sounds like a fine plan. I think the world is waiting, David. Please reveal.
Everyone's so interested to find out what my favorite Ardbeg is. So I'm going to choose Uigeadail's Magnificent, by the way, a brilliant whiskey, and hard to argue with, you know, as a choice as your favorite. I think I know it's a crowd favorite out there amongst our Ardbeg Committee, our fervent fans. But for me, Corryvreckan has always just pipped it. So Ardbeg Corryvreckan, move over Uigeadail. Corryvreckan's the one for me. So I've got a glass of Corryvreckan ready here, my big green glass. And it's just so intense. You know, the use of these virgin French oak casks brings a spiciness on top of all that trademark Ardbeg smoke. Wow. You know, what a whiskey named after a whirlpool up there north of Islay. Just huge and untamed, and it grabs you. You know, it just grabs you. You can't get away from this whiskey. So I'm gonna have a wee sip. And at the same time as being so intense, boy, is it balanced. It's got so much going on. It's got sweetness, it's got smokiness, it's got earthiness. Just so good, Colin.
Yeah, it's an absolute beauty, Corryvreckan. Just as you're saying, not far from us, just at the sort of, as you head north of our island to north end of Jura, but absolutely a cracker, a fantastic dram, that influence from the French, just giving that wee bit of tannin, a wee bit on the mouthfeel, you know, just a spice, an absolute beauty. But again, like every Ardbeg that the whiskey creation team pulled together, just the balance is just top notch, and a fine choice. Again, it's difficult picking a favourite. Corryvreckan's certainly up there.
So, Colin, looks like we've got our first request has just come in. So why don't we get cracking? So, Colin, Scott Line would like to hear your thoughts on Kelpie, his favourite Ardbeg Day bottling. So, Kelpie, tasting number one. Take it away, Colin.
Wow, Kelpie. Do you know, it's obviously brilliant to be doing this virtual and reaching so many Ardbeg fans around the world. But the day itself here, as we come to the end of the face of the Whisky Festival and the whole Islay Festival, it's always such a special day at Ardbeg Day, because there's a gathering en masse here at the distillery out in the courtyard, and you know, thousands of people and food and music and loads going on, meeting up with old friends and meeting new ones over great whiskey. And I remember Kelpie really well back in 2017, and I came up with my family, and we had a brilliant day. There was loads going on for Kelpie. It was these virgin Russian oak casks, so completely, again, just totally out there in terms of the tastes and the flavours. Very, very unusual, which we like to be creative and try new things. And it had like a incredible saltiness to it. It was like seashells. It literally, Kelpie is obviously a mythical water beast in Scots and Gaelic culture, and it literally did taste like the sea, that earthy seashells, and they say that was the influence from this virgin oak from the cast from the Black Sea. It was a superb dram, Kelpie. Very, very different, truly unique. I don't know if you've poured one, David, what your thoughts are on Kelpie.
Yeah, you know, it's right up there as one of my, right up there as a candidate for my favourite Ardbeg Day bottling ever as well. Scott, that's for sure. Great whiskey. I love some of the other choices we banded around before we came up with the name Kelpie. You know, in typical Ardbeg fashion, with the kind of Russian oak influence, we thought maybe we should call it Ardbeg St. Petersburg. Haha, boom, boom. You know, I'll bring the dad jokes all day. So I'm glad we didn't go with that. But Kelpie, you know, the name Kelpie is the name of a mythical kind of sea monster in Scottish mythology. So hence the name, you know, this idea of influence of the sea. So the Russian oak being right there on the Black Sea was the inspiration behind the whole name. And the saltiness in the whiskey, you're absolutely right, Colin. It has this makes me think of like salted cashews or something like that coming through. in Kelpie. So, Colin, we've had a second request in already. Chris would like us to taste Ardbeg and have a few words about that. So let's crack open the Ardbeg.
So I did actually see that coming through. So your timing's perfect. I just went and poured myself a little Ardbeg 2013 committee festival release. It was my very first year on Isla. So I remember Ardbeg Day well coming up here. There was loads again going on, great buzz about the place. Honestly, it's been a while since I've tasted Ardbeg, and just pouring it there. It's the influence the Manzanilla casks, and it's perfect again. Richness on the nose. It's 52%, 52.1%, and just absolutely a fantastic whiskey. You've got big influence from that. From the Manzanilla casks, which I mean, we play about with lots of different casks and wood types. We tend to fill a lot of American oak ex-bourbon casks, but there's all sorts. Even in the 8 months I've been here, lots of different types of sherry casks and different types of wood that we're filling. And that classic berries and figs and sort of dates influence sneaking up in through that, just as maybe you can tell it's perfectly balanced between the bourbon casks and the sherry casks. Just real richness to it, great depth, but fruity. But we better have a little taste. Slan, let's have a wee taste. Oh. Superb. It's such a mellow, like there's such a roundness to it, that the smoke and that real sort of earthy bonfire note is there, but it's more subtle. You can just tell there's a real wood influence to it. It's the smoothest of finish. What a whiskey!
Yeah, Colin, I'm just when he said 2013, I can't believe it. It seems like yesterday. Time flies when you're having fun. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, crazy. A time has flown, but what an opportunity to crack it open again.
Absolutely. So we've got request number 3 has come in here from Martin Pearson. Says I've got a few drops of Galileo left. Gosh, precious drops there. And he says he's saving it for his 50th birthday in 3 years from now. Happy birthday in advance. Any chance we could have a few thoughts on Galileo, Colin? So, Colin, over to you.
Wow, Galileo. Amazing. That was the Marsala casks, Galileo. Mm-hmm. We like to be the first to do things, you know, and we like to try, you know, wacky stuff. It's why we have such committed fans as we do all over the world. And Galileo was bottled to celebrate the new make spirit vial going up to space. So we put new make spirit in a vial surrounded by oak, so we could mature it technically up into space at the International Space Centre, or Space Station, I should say. 3 years up there, back down. So we do a bottle to celebrate and commemorate this. And it was very heavily peated as well, of course. It was 100 ppm, wasn't it, the stuff that went up. Galileo was to sort of commemorate our journey into space. And these Marsala casks, I think it was an 11 or a 12-year-old maybe. It was absolutely brilliant, yeah, Galileo. We've actually got the vial at the distillery that went up into space as well, and a little bit about the bottling of Galileo to commemorate this. So when we are allowed to come over and come back to Ardbeg, you can come and look at the very vial that went up to space. It's a cracking story, amazing.
Brilliant. And I know we've got from that project where we sent the vial up to the International Space Station over here in the States, we've got quite a fan group from quite a lot of fans who work in the space industry over here, and they're big Ardbeg Galileo fans, that's for sure. So shout out to everybody that I know in the who work in the various governmental and private space agencies over here in the States. Hopefully we'll be able to get together again soon and share some more Ardbeg. Colin, do you want to say a few words about? I think there's a list of drinks that we might want to be putting up on the screen. Well, I've done it now, I guess. There we go. This is the list that we're hoping that you can pick from. You can throw us your requests, and if you pick from this, we definitely know we have them on hand. So have a look at that for a few minutes. We'll keep that up there for a second. We have our next request in, Colin, so I'll read that slowly and allow people to scan that list quickly. So request number 4 comes from Paul Richard Ellis, and he says, "I love Dark Cove." Thoughts, Colin?
Well, yeah, I got asked the question earlier what my favourite festival bottling was, and again, because I tend to think a lot about the day itself and what was going on, and like so much of Scotch whisky drinking, you tie things to a memory and a great occasion. But for me, Dark Cove was and probably still is my favourite festival bottling. Again, it was such a great theme here at the distillery. It was all about smugglers, the Dark Cove, and yeah, we had like so much stuff going on. Midnight tours and tastings, and some brilliant outfits. And you can see we're still doing the great outfits to this very day. But Dark Cove was just absolutely brilliant. It was the black sherry the casks, and I've actually just poured myself a wee one here when I saw the request come up. So Dark Cove, there's very little even left at the distillery. It's hard now to get your hands on, but it's an absolute beauty. So I'm not sure, David, if you have a chance to pour yourself one, but
I have it here somewhere, but I've just realised that in amongst the forest of bottles I have here, I'm not sure. I think there we go, found it. Dark Cove, woo! So
yeah, yes. it was a brilliant day, and again. It's such a great whiskey. Again, it goes so well with the Dark Cove theme by the black sherry casks. This again, real dark, real richness to it. I mean, how fruity is that?
Yeah, this was the dark sherry casks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this gives me an opportunity to do my best Bill Lumsden impression, because in his tasting notes he talks about squid ink linguine. There you go. That's my Bill impression. That's the tasting note. Apparently, it's squid ink with linguine. Expensive taste. The good doctor.
Absolutely. I can't say it's something I've partaken much in, squid ink linguine. It was just the ravioli for me growing up, But it's it's just so much as there is like a saltiness to it, but there's such like really dark fruits, and the smoke. It's like a meaty smoke almost, like honey roast ham or something. I just think there's such a fantastic meaty undertone that goes with that fruit from the sherry cask. It's a blinder. What do you think?
Yeah, something for me is coming through like cassis or blackcurrant preserve. So if I was maybe glazing a ham or something in blackcurrant preserve, it kind of comes across like that. You're right, really dark, kind of dark fruit notes in there. And you're right. You mentioned kind of it's salty, but it's not this one. It's kind of it's a really interesting balance of a savory note in amongst all that black fruit note at the same time. Gosh, it's been a while since I've had a sip of Dark Cove. Maybe this is my favorite. Changing my mind.
The blackcurrant, definitely that sort of blackcurrant like jam or something. It's cassis or something. It's very, very noticeable, and again, that's part of the magic of playing about with casks and different wood influences. I mean, as everyone will know, that the Ardbeg Spirit. I mean, we're currently just in the process of commissioning, or we have commissioned our new still house here. So the site, in the 206 years that we've been running, always just had 2 stills, one wash still, one spirit still, and the decision was made a few years ago that we upped and scaled up, future-proofed to help meet demand, but also it was time really to upgrade what we had. So we've now built the new still house with 4 stills, 2 wash stills, 2 spirit stills to sort of double the distillation capacity. And the key thing is always going to be getting your new make spirit quality right, because if you can guarantee consistency, and we, like I just touched on earlier, we're looking for these big, heavy phenolic notes, these big, smoky, earthy notes, but also the purifiers in the stills, the way that these spirit stills run here, where we get lots and lots of reflux, lots of copper contact, you get really light, estery, fruity notes, and that balance is key. And then once we have obviously made that, we fill every single cask of Ardbeg here on site, which is brilliant. It's becoming rarer and rarer to see. So we fill all casks here, and that's then when you let the wood do its magic. So maturation is going to take away a lot of your unwanted notes, your sulphury notes, your sort of slightly unpleasant notes. Over time, that just the wood takes that, absorbs it, yet it's adding all these different flavour compounds from the wood as well. And depending on what's been in the cask before we use it, and sometimes there's nothing in the cask before, we have used virgin oak as well at Ardbeg. But it tends to be you're going to get flavour or different notes coming from that wood through the maturation process. I mean, we don't ever in the festival bottlings put an age statement on them. We don't discuss how old they are, because it's all about the flavour. And I think when you taste something like Dark Cove, you just you don't need to know the age. It's all about what you're nosing and tasting, and it's straight away you just know there's great colour to that. That cask has been active. There's been lots and lots happening, and you nose and taste it instantly. It's just beautifully put together. Really, really good.
That's it. So, and it's just it's changing in the glass so much. Just often when I get to the last little kind of dribble of whiskey in a glass, I think that when you nose that almost empty glass, you get the best experience of all. I can't explain why, but it seems to always happen. And there's just something, even with all that power of the from the dark sherry casks and everything we talked about there. Now I'm getting some trademark Ardbeg kind of slightly herbal notes coming through as well, which is really astounding for a whiskey that's so much in a different direction. Love it, love it, love it. But Colin, you've joined us. We're delighted that you've come over to Ardbeg. You've seen the light, but you've come in an amazing time. As you mentioned, we're talking about the expansion of the still house, or the new still house, the expansion of the distillery for the first time in the history of the distillery. Such an iconic distillery. You mean what amazing, exciting privilege? But you must feel somewhat kind of the pressure of responsibility on you as well. How is it? How are you managing, man? There must be a lot of stress.
It's been wild. It's it's an incredibly exciting. I'm truly honoured to take the role. Mickey Heads, who was here, and so many people watching this will know Mickey, an absolute legend, true gentleman, a whiskey icon. And it was a real honour to come in and take over from Mickey. I mean, the thing is, there's always magic at Ardbeg. Today I went up, and beside the high vis vests and the hard hats upstairs, you've got a knight's outfit hanging up, and that makes this place just a wee bit different and pretty special. And when I came in, the day that we handed over with Mickey, 1st of October, so 8 months ago, we did a walk round, and at the time the still house had been built, the stills were in sort of snagging works and works getting finished. COVID had obviously held us up, and he just turned to me and said, right, this is your task here, you need to get the new still house going. Now it's a fair, I've done a few handovers in my time, but that was quite something, because when you go into a new still house, you've got to get it right, and there's going to be a bit of fine tuning. Everything's replicated exactly the same, but like you say, David, the pressure's on, because the Ardbeg spirit and Ardbeg whiskey is iconic, and I'm an Ardbeg fan. That's why I took the job. I love it. So yeah, the pressure's on, but the boys have settled in a dream, and the place is going really well. We're pleased with it, and just looking forward to showing it off. We've got a huge big window as well, looking out over onto the bay, massive. It's that's the future, and we're really, really proud of it. And it's a true honour for me to be here. Not many distillery managers or indeed staff, and we'll get to start up a new still house. So yeah, I can't wait to show it off to people.
Yeah, Colin, it's just I'm so excited for you, and I'm so excited to get back. I can't wait. Just crossing fingers, toes, and everything that Face 2022 happens in person. I'm loving this. Don't get me wrong. The online life for the last year and a half has actually been really great fun, and in some ways, kind of given me an opportunity to interact with whiskey fans in a more personal way. In some ways, actually, than in person, because you get more. I think you get more of a one-on-one kind of interaction. But I definitely can't wait to get back to Islay. Just that's the first place I'm going to go. It's come see you, knocking down the door as quickly as soon as possible, basically. Yeah, so, Colin, a few people are asking after his lordship, Dr. Lumsden. So do not fear. Dr. Bill will be live on the ardbeg.com website after our session. He's going to be live at 7 p.m. British summertime, which means that's 2 p.m. East Coast in the US, 1 p.m. for me, Central Time, but 7 p.m. British summertime, Dr. Bill will be live. There you go. So do not fear. What, are we not good enough? Come on. What are you going to say? Looks like we've had another request in, Colin. Cage would like us to taste Supernova, please. So Supernova 2019, I'm assuming, since that was the one I think we had on the list, right?
Yeah, I've got it behind me somewhere here. We'll have a wee hunt for it, just as the list is up there.
Yeah. Yep, Supernova 2019. I'll do the same. I'll dig it out here. That's Galileo. Supernova 2019.
Yeah, 2019 Supernova. We've got it. It's good. It's what a brilliant opportunity, but what a sound as well. Surely the best sound, especially on Ardbeg Day here in that cork go. Supernova, it's all about the phenol, isn't it? It's all about the smoke. This is the 2019 release, 100 ppm. So actually, that vial of whiskey that we were talking about earlier that went up to space, and then we did the Galileo bottling to sort of commemorate that. That 100 ppm vial that went up there and matured, that's the same stuff, if you like, ended up going as Supernova. So Supernova is 100 parts per million phenol, very, very, very heavily peated malt that we've ran through the process. So exactly the same downstream, so exactly the same fermentation and distillation and cutting of the spirit in the stills is identical to standard Ardbeg new make spirit, but the malt that went in at the start was much higher phenol, and it's been a while since I've tasted Supernova, but this is the Supernova 2019. So let's just have a little nose.
I've just by chance put mine in one of my favourite glasses here. This is the mini Glencairn that you get. I don't know if people can see that. Mini Glencairn that you get when you do the tour. And this is the 2019 tour glass. So the last time I was at Ardbeg. So I've got Supernova 2019 and the 2019 tour glass. There you go.
Well, good man. I think we ordered 2020 glasses, so there's probably a couple of thousand of them here. I'm sure we could give you one of those as well.
Highly collectible, those things. Nobody will have got their hands on them. You heard it here first, guys.
Absolutely. So Supernova, it's amazing on the nose. Like Supernova, you get sort of a, I don't want to say gunpowder, but there's like do you know when you bonfire night here or that you would burn a sparkler? you would get that end, that sort of smell of just the smoke as it was sort of coming to an end. Again, it smells a very personal thing. We've all smelt and grown up with different things. I just get a wee bit of that, just like that sort of piney, like peppery bit. There's massive amounts of like vanilla notes and fruits there as well. It's again, it's all about the balance. It's just beautiful.
You're so right, Colin. That once you get to know Ardbeg, it's tough at first, but underneath all the kind of big, fur coat like I'm wearing of peatiness, there's this really kind of, unlike me, there's an elegant underneath to Ardbeg. There's all these lovely kind of vanilla and banana and tropical fruit notes coming through in Ardbeg, and even from time to time, hints of like freshly squeezed lime juice coming through. And one of the things I get in Supernova, particularly 2019, is almost a sense of like lemon sherbet, like an effervescence. I don't know if it's the high level of phenols just attacking the sides of my tongue or something, but I found it's very mouth-watering, almost like eating like some sherbet or something.
I completely agree. I get that often with Ardbeg, like that real citrusy sherbet, and sometimes like the 10-year-old Ardbeg 10 sometimes reminds me a bit of like you get that lemon and lime, almost like 7-Up. Again, that probably tells you more about my taste as a child. But yeah, I just think there's such a wonderful like the balance to that the phenols there and the smokes there undoubtedly. But when you taste that Supernova, it's not overpowering at all. You get the smoke absolutely, but there's just a wonderful like mouthfeel of fruit, and it's just absolutely incredible. It's been a while since I've tried Supernova. Really, really good.
Which is a real hats off to the distillery team, the whiskey creation team, that we can make a whiskey that's so high in phenols, and it still has all that trademark Ardbeg kind of subtlety, sophistication in there as well. All those lovely citrus notes, all those tropical fruit notes, they're all there. And in fact, I think in Supernova, certainly this one, the citrus notes are actually elevated along with the phenols. It's a really, really great whiskey. We've got a comment or a question, I'm not sure here, from Tyrone Coty, saying he's just joined the call late. That's fine. And is this an Ardbeg event or a cosplay conference? He's feeling a little bit underdressed. Well, Tyrone, it's a little known fact that actually this is not a cosplay event. Colin and I dress like this all the time. It's right?
It's a rare treat. Sometimes I put the jeans on, but it's getting rarer and rarer. We'll stay in this, I think.
On Islay, with the climate on Islay, Colin has to watch. He has to use a little bit of oil because it rusts sometimes, with all that rain.
You wouldn't want to stand outside in it all year, that's for sure.
So we've had another request. Request number 6. Gosh, we're marching along here. A request here saying, please, could we try the drum committee release? It's one of my favorites. Isla paired with rum finish. It's so unique, and I don't feel it gets enough love. Certainly one that divides the room. Great to hear that you love it. I love it too. But it certainly is slightly more controversial, maybe. Ardbeg Committee Reserve Drum. What do you think, Colin?
I don't get the controversy at all. I'm just going to pour myself one as hard.
I don't either. Whilst you're pouring that, Colin, I would say that Bill puts this in a great way. He says Ardbeg should never be in the position of trying to make a whiskey that everybody loves. Then it wouldn't be Ardbeg anymore.
Yeah,
that's a controversial statement, but as long as you love most of them, I think it's okay if we have a few that divide the room. That's very much what Ardbeg does.
Absolutely. It's funny that again, just thinking of the event. I'm a rum drinker as well. Like I really like rum, dark rum especially. And I remember coming up in 2019. It was obviously the last space we had in person because last year for Black 2020 we were virtual again. But coming up here last year, it was all about the carnival theme for Ardbeg Drum, and I love Ardbeg Drum. Honestly, we're talking about favourites. Ardbeg Drum would be up there for me. It's like smoked pineapple. Like I vividly remember just tasting it the first time and thinking the way that we've used the influence from these like Demerara rum, this French Guiana distillery, and honestly, I'm blown away with drum. It was also a great day for me personally because there was a coconut shy, and you had to try and hit coconuts and pineapples off sticks with a ball to win a bottle of drum. And I was really feeling the pressure. A lot of people watching it, and I completely missed through it, a terrible throw, and it hit one. So there was a big cheer went up, and I left with a bottle of drum. And that's what Ardbeg Day is all about. The part of the magic.
That's a prophecy right there, right? It was. Is that the moment when you realised where your destiny was going to be?
Probably. Absolutely. It was like something out of film. It was amazing. But we'll have a wee nose because it's been a while. I see that it's straight away on the nose there.
Look for mine.
It's like you get the sort of brown sugar. Do you know that? Like caramelised brown sugar, and the fruit note is massively amplified as well by the rum cast. That sort of tropical fruit. I get pineapple. I get very, very strong pineapple with it. Absolutely amazing. I mean, obviously, as we're going through these whiskies, a huge number of them are canned strength as well. So I've got a bit of water here. So I'll never tell anyone how to drink their whiskey as long as you're enjoying it. But I'll always try it neat and then add a wee bit water. And I can't actually remember which one I prefer with drum, with or without. So we'll just have a little taste of it neat.
Ooh. Colin, you know, the one thing for me is I've actually just in the last month started getting a bit. I always wanted to kind of get into rum, and I've just started kind of understanding rum a little bit. I don't know much about it, but there's a new liquor store around here near me, and it's got a pretty amazing rum selection. So I've been going in and just every now and then buying a bottle of rum, and just it's having tasted a good few rums now, decent rums. When I go back to drum, I appreciate it a lot more, and I can pick up the nuances of the rum, really quite defined in amongst all the Ardbeg. That's a tall task for something that was previously in a cask to power through past the Ardbegginess, you know.
Yeah, and that's where the balance they've got absolutely. Once again, Dr. Bill, the team have got spot on, because you could very easily overpower, even though Ardbegs are very powerful new make spirit, but there are a lot of light fruity notes. But I think the way that the timing in these rum casks, it's I see the finish when you drink it as well. I always think with drum, you get like unbelievable fruitiness that sort of just comes back in the finish, and it's almost like that sugar. It reminds me of almost like a puff pastry, caramelized sugar and fruit, like you see, like that sort of banana, mango, pineapple, and that, if you drink a lot of dark rum, that often you pick these notes up, honey and things. But oh, what a choice! Yeah, superb.
You know, one of the things I've noticed about some of the rums I've been trying is that some of the rums are now quoting their congener parts per million in the same way as everybody on Isla likes to kind of bandy around phenol parts per million. So it's kind of interesting that we've got the combination of both here. Maybe we should analyze our drum for the congener parts per million as well, because it's really, really fruity. You're right, just incredible fruity notes in drum. Love it. Yeah. So I've got a comment here from Gunter saying, "Colin, are you not too hot in that armor?"
I was trying to look professional and cool, but it's quite warm. It took about 3 hours to get this thing on as well. If there was a battle going on, I would have missed it. So it's certainly warm. I don't think any night was ever cold.
in their castle. But look, it's the whiskey as well. I'm not complaining. I'm very, very happy just now.
After these wee drams you're having, it's going to take even longer to get you out of the thing. I suspect. So this thing as well. This thing I didn't realize when I got this. This is actually like padded like a sleeping bag. So it's absolutely roasting here. There we go. It's all good. Colin, next time I come to Islay, I'm going to pack this. And we'll dress up like this again, and we'll just gonna rampage through town. We'll get some horses and ride through the middle of Port Ellen or something. How about that?
We could do that, or true Ardbeg still. We've got obviously the Ardbeg chopper and Ardbeg tractor here, so maybe we could mix it up a bit and take them for a spin into the village.
Brilliant! I remember I've sat on that tractor, the Ardbeg hot rod tractor. I sat last time I saw that. I was sitting on it in the middle of Taipei, Taiwan, and the chopper. I've seen that a few places around the world when we had that. I was very hopeful I'd get to ride it through the streets of Tokyo, but alas, I wasn't allowed to actually ride it. I got to sit on it in Tokyo, but that was it. But yeah, they are well-traveled vehicles. That's for sure. We've got a comment from Donnie Griggs. Hey, from Eastern North Carolina. Can't wait to be back on Islay soon. We can't wait to see you back on Islay soon. We've got a request here, Colin, and I think we've got a bit of time. So this is number 7, but I think we're going to keep going if you're okay with that. We've got Glennis Reagan saying, can you tell us about the 25-year-old, please? Oh, expensive taste here. So tell us all about the Ardbeg 25. And I'm going to have to live vicariously through you, Colin, because I don't have any. Well, I did have. Don't feel too bad. I had some and drank it. A little sample.
Do you know, we only have one bottle at the distillery of the 25-year-old. When it was launched last year, we didn't really have very much taste in stock at all. Really high demand, but no, sorry, it was early this year, wasn't it? 25-year-old. I'm forgetting we're in June now. And I've got a bottle here, which I'll need to pour a wee sample to see if we can go through it. It's probably, well, it's the oldest Ardbeg, because we've always done, over the last sort of five years or so, it's all been about the 20-something range, 21-year-old, 22, 23. And we wanted to do something older, and old stock of Ardbeg is incredibly rare and hard to get hold of. So we managed to bottle the 25-year-old. And what I'll maybe do is I'll just turn around and pour it. David, if you want to tell us anything else you want to add about it, even though you can't taste it, I'll just pour myself a wee one here.
Sure, absolutely, Colin. So if my calculations are right, and correct me if I get this wrong, but 25 years ago, that takes us back to distillate from, is it 96? That'd be right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 96, think about that, everyone. What were you doing in 96? Sometimes we kind of just glaze over maturation. Even something like an Ardbeg 5-year-old, the wee beastie, it spent 5 years in a cask. Think about it for a minute. 5 years is actually in human lifespan a pretty lengthy time span. Things happen. The world changes. But 25 years, quarter of a century ago, I mean, gosh, I know what I was doing, and I hadn't really developed much of a taste for single malt yet. I was still at university, probably drinking cheap beer. I think I maybe got my first cell phone. Probably got my first mobile phone in 96, I think. Around about then, maybe.
You were ahead of the
I
game
was.
in 95.
I went to Woolworths and bought a pay-as-you-go phone. And I had to buy a scratch-off card to put money on it. And I got it all up and running. It was incredibly expensive. I should never have bought it. And then I discovered after I'd bought it that I had no reception at all. I was at St Andrews, in the middle of nowhere, basically. And they hadn't built any mobile phone towers yet. So I just bought a phone and I couldn't use it.
You drove to Edinburgh for signal. That is dedication.
I had to walk all the way down West Sands Beach till I could see the outskirts of Dundee and then point the phone aerial at Dundee to make a phone call. But it was so windy out there, no one could hear me. What a waste of time.
Well, I'm pleased to say when you were doing that in St Andrews, we were laying down the spirit for the Ardbeg 25-year-old. Because, like you're saying, really, the 80s, the site was shut for a number of years. We didn't run at all. 90s, it was very stop-start right up until Glenmorangie bought the distillery, and we rose again from the ashes, if you like. So this is old spirit and very limited, because we laid down so little stock. The distillery wasn't really producing very much at all. And there's guys still working here that remember those days. And when you look at where we've come now and in the investment in the site, and it's absolutely brilliant. There's so much to be proud of here. But it's all American oak, the 25-year-old bourbon refills. And look at the colour on it. That's what 25 years in refills does. Absolutely incredible colour. But see instantly on the nose, and I've only nosed this once before because, like I say, it was in such short supply. Even during COVID, we didn't get very much at the distillery at all to nose and taste. There's an amazing, like, menthol eucalyptus note, I think. Like, it's absolutely incredible. Like, really, really strong. Great, like, vanilla fudge caramel from the casks. Mm-hmm. I get a distinct, like, mentholy note, and a bit of that, and the citrus as well. Like, almost baked lemon and stuff. So beautiful on the nose. Smoke and the peat is there, but obviously, it's after 25 years, the phenols are less obvious on the nose. The wood influence is really pushed towards the other elements I've mentioned. But let's have a taste. Slange of that.
Slange.
It's 46%. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's great. I wish I could virtually send you a wee glass of that there, David. That's,
I wish you could too, mate.
Bit of spice to it, actually. Just like subtly spiced, but so smooth and creamy. There's that. It's like gentle wood smoke coming through from the peat, and just lovely warm in. There's a bit of that citrus thing. It's absolutely superb, and a real rarity for those that got their hands on a bottle or got to try the 25-year-old. Good on you. Absolutely amazing stuff.
And Colin, if I'm thinking about it, 96, this, if things hadn't turned out well, if the Glenmorangie Company hadn't come in 97 and rescued Ardbeg, this could have been the last Ardbeg ever, pretty much. We're talking, the very darkest days of the before the sun rose. Before everything that the Glenmorangie Company and Dr. Bill and the whiskey creation team and Jackie coming in and just the renaissance of Ardbeg had not started yet. This was liquid from the lowest point, and it could have been it. It could have been like a footnote in history. Yeah. So we're so lucky.
It's incredible when you think about the history and how close the site was to close. But I think the great thing that we have now, and the fan base we have, and the Ardbeg lovers around the world, the committee, 120 or 130 countries, 100,000 members that are all there and absolutely involved and invested in the distillery. And I think that's an amazing thing. That just shows the passion that the site was close to it back in the day, but look where we are now. It's absolutely brilliant. So I'm so pleased we came out the other side.
Totally. We've got a question here from Robert. Hi, Robert. How do you decide on the taste palette for each of the various committee releases over the years? They're so very different year on year. And by the way, love Scorch, and this is Robert in New York City.
All right. Yeah, how are you doing, Robert? Lots of thought. Even though we always have an amazing themes with Scorch and the Dragon charred casks this year, it's always built around the whiskey. And as we lay down stocks and try different things, we're always looking ahead at what we have and what we can trial. And it really is led by Dr. Bill Lumsden and the whisky creation team, and we get involved. So I wasn't involved with picking of Scotch, but I'm very excited to say, over the next few years that we'll be involved with some of the releases. And again, what an opportunity! And I've walked the warehouses here. There's some amazing casts and some really, really funky stuff going on. So I hope we continue that innovation and being different. And I'm delighted you like Scotch. I think it's an absolutely superb release this year. Really, really impressed with it. So yeah, watch this space. I'm sure there'll be more to come over the next years.
So, Colin, how much do we need to bribe you right now? If we maybe start a little online fund, how much do we need to bribe you for you to tell us all the secrets in those warehouses? Because I don't even know any of those. So, come on. Well, what's the dollar amount that we need to get to? We'll set one of those kind of targets, and we'll see if we get there, and then you tell us everything. How about that?
Afraid the contract's been signed. You'll never get it out of this night. I'll tell you that.
Good man. So yeah, people are asking about tasting a wee beastie and Scorch. Of course, Scorch is the whiskey of the moment, but we're holding off on that to allow the good doctor himself to concentrate on that in the next session. So don't worry, we will, of course, we will be presenting Scorch to you all in good time, that's for sure. We've had a final request here, though, from, hopefully I don't mess this pronunciation up, Hakan Carling. I don't know, for us to taste through Ardbeg An Oa, and a few thoughts on An Oa, Colin.
Okay, An Oa's very different as well. Again, just we like to try things and keep things vibrant and happening. So just across the courtyard, outside the building I am just now, we have the Old West Maltings, and in that building where the old kiln sat, if you go in there, you will see a number of vats, French oak vats, that were installed by a specialist group of guys from Portugal came and hand built these wooden vats. And these are our marrying vats for An Oa, which is part of the core range now. It has been with us for a few years. An Oa is the name of a wee peninsula, but not a wee peninsula, but a bit of land that sticks out of the sort of southwest of Islay. And it's a marriage, if you like, of, we've got a mixture of casks, and we've got PX cask, there's charred virgin oak and ex-bourbon refills as well in it. So the mixture of the three casks, or wood types, goes into these marrying vats. You leave it in this French oak for 3 months to marry, to sort of come together. And we have An Oa at the end of it. Again, no age statement, because it's all about the flavour and taste. And it's been hugely popular. And again, we're very, very proud of An Oa. It's a great bit of work. And Janie, who is our sort of distillery planner, who does a lot of the logistic work for us, vital cog in the system, and Douglas Bowman, our head warehouseman, they do a lot of work to keep An Oa ticking over, because the timings have to be right and the cask makeup has to be right. So a lot of their hard work to get An Oa over the line as well. And it's a beauty. So I'll pass over to David and I'm going to pour one. David, over to you.
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, I've often described An Oa as kind of the greatest hits of Ardbeg, because if you think about those three component parts, we've got the classic Ardbeg aged in American oak, the sort of thing that everyone who loves Ardbeg 10 would recognize. So there's an element of that in An Oa. Then you've got the virgin American oak Ardbeg in An Oa, and that brings a kind of tannic note that is, I guess, somewhat reminiscent of the tannic spice that you get from the French oak influence in Corryvreckan. So if you're a Corryvreckan fan, there's some of that in An Oa for you too. And then finally, the PX sherry component in An Oa is there for all the fans like yourself, Colin, of Uigeadail. There's some of that. There's echoes of that in An Oa as well. So we pulled together the kind of greatest hits of Ardbeg. And then, you know, they're three very different whiskies. And if we just slammed them together, you know, it wouldn't work. So those marrying vats, those Portuguese marrying vats, they're not there to influence the whiskey in terms of give it any influence from the wood. That's not the point at all. But they're there to almost like in the way that you would pour a wine and let it rest or decant it, when you would pour a whiskey and it kind of changes in the glass over time. 3 months in that wooden marrying vat, it lets it breathe. It lets everything knit together. So whilst it's the greatest hits of Ardbeg, it's also perfectly, imperceptibly knitted together beautifully. It's just such a great whiskey. And then it's just slightly like we turned the volume down one notch on Ardbeg, which is great. It allows you to have a slightly less in your face, more contemplative Ardbeg. It's an absolutely great whiskey. Love it. Cheers.
Yeah, it's a winner. Cheers. Yeah, it's an absolutely, like you're talking about there. It's a great example, like you say, of the three very different wood types, very different flavors from those three maturations, and then you wouldn't want to just, like you say, slam them together, giving them that time to breathe and marry in the French oak. It's a great smell in that room. It's the old kiln. So we've got two old kilns here. One is the shop had the cafe in it, and the other, of course, is where the An Oa sit, the gathering room we call it. So they're both old kilns are used, and there's like a, like you're saying, it is almost like a toned, not, I know what you're saying by toned down version of Ardbeg. There's like a real sweetness to it, and you've got lots going on with that sort of charred virgin oak, like a lot of the sort of like green notes you get, almost like a bit of like wood sap, but you get this sort of from the PX as well, a lot of that sort of you know, rich berry notes and spice, the tannins as well, and it's fantastic on the nose. A beautiful whiskey, I know.
Mm-hmm. I get something reminiscent of like coffee grounds in there as well. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Really love that.
There's like a great amount of bitterness to it as well, I think, just from the tannin, like the tannins, and just like that spice on the mouthfeel and the cheeks. And I've got fairly big cheeks, so they do absorb a fair bit of that, you know.
I you know, when I said toned down, that's the wrong term, isn't it? I'm trying to explain what I mean there. I'm not doing it very well, but it's just it's still all Ardbeg. It's still all there, but there's something just slightly softer there that allows you to, you know, whereas Corryvreckan is my favorite, and it's the crazy gang. You know, it's wild and mental. An Oa is maybe the other. It's just for a different mood. And whiskey, the enjoyment of whiskey, all whiskey, is so much linked to place and mood and who you're with, time, that if everything was the same, God help us if every Ardbeg was exactly the same. Don't want that. Variety, absolutely. There's a time and a place for An Oa, and I know exactly where that is. That for me is probably sitting, just chilling out by myself, you know, sitting out on a patio somewhere, glass of An Oa, absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's all about the mood in the moment, and what an hour we've had. That was a beast of a tasting, I think we would say.
Right, seriously.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for joining us and tasting some of our favourite Ardbegs. It's been incredible to go through some of the range and the range of flavours we've had in great company with David and all yourselves. So look out for the tasting coming up with Dr. Bill. He's tasting some Ardbeg Scorch, which is at the release this year. And David, it's been an absolute pleasure. Slanjava, have a wonderful Ardbeg day. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. And on behalf of everyone around the world, members of the Ardbeg Committee, thank you, Colin. Thank you, everyone at the distillery. We're sorry we can't be with you in person this year, but raise a glass to all being together next year, and to great whiskey and great friends. Cheers.
Cheers. Slan.